Hello and welcome, everyone. We're so glad to have each and every one of you here. This conversation is about getting your questions answered. So, first off, kudos to you for exploring and discovering what the opportunities are and how it works for yourself. I'm Kathy with the Center for Coaching Certification. Several of you submitted questions ahead of time. I think we've done a good job of building that information in, and you are more than welcome to ask questions all the way through. To get that set up, let's have a bit of fun. And if you will, in the chat box, just put a note of where you're calling in from. It's fun to see where people are coming from, different places, that kind of thing. All the way through, I will be monitoring the chat box. And if you happen to use the question box, I'll notice that as well. So either way, we want to hear from you. We want to hear your questions. And while we are recording, and yes, this will go on YouTube, sometimes we have somebody who's brave and says, yes, I'll come on live. And if you give me a note, I can unmute you. So only a few of you have put in where you're from. We've got New York State, Boston, and New York City. So that's awesome. And I'm guessing there's a few other places around the globe out there. The conversation today, what's it going to be about? Oh, London. Love it. Love it. Love it. We are going to define coaching and share the ICF definition with you. We'll talk coaching statistics and insights. Then we'll walk through the staircase to success, which is an analogy for building the coaching relationship. And then we'll also give you a diagram of the coaching process. So insight on how it works. We'll talk pros and cons of certification, the reasons people choose certification at CCC, what to look for in a training program wherever you go, opportunities for you as a coach, and then, of course, a solid overview of the programs offered. And at the end, I've got something for you. So we'll get there. All right. First off, the definition of coaching. And I love this definition. The word choice is incredibly significant. So first off, it says coaching is partnering. That term partnering is unique because if you think about service professionals, when you're talking an attorney or a consultant or a financial planner or whatever it might be, they're the expert and they come in as the expert. Whereas a coach comes in as a partner. We have a process and the client is truly in the driver's seat. So it talks about that. It's a thought-provoking and creative process, and it's designed specifically to inspire clients so that they maximize their own personal and professional potential. This definition comes from the International Coaching Federation. We get lots of questions on who that is and how that works, so let's talk about it. First off, they are a nonprofit. It is a membership organization of coaching professionals. It's considered the gold standard in the profession. The reason for that, the code of ethics for coaches comes from the ICF. Members are accountable to that code of ethics. They also have standards for approving training programs. Probably the single most thing you want to be looking for in a training program is that it's approved by the ICF. They also have a standard for membership. They require 60 hours of coach training to be able to join as a member. And they have standards for credentialing. And we're going to walk through those as well, because I know several people had questions on them. So hopefully this infographic makes it easy. First off, as a minimum standard, putting yourself out there as a coach starts with being able to say, yes, I'm a member of ICF. So I've done 60 hours of training. I'm a member. I'm accountable to the code of ethics. That's your first step. Becoming a member of ICF, if you want an analogy for that, is much like saying, I got my associate's degree, a 2-year degree. Then the next step in the process is earning a credential with the ICF. The ACC credential is much like saying, okay, I got my degree. It requires 60 hours of training, 100 hours of experience as a coach with clients, 10 hours of mentor coaching. And that process is very specific as well. And during that mentor coaching, you are working with your mentor coach on a recording of yourself coaching. It does get assessed and has to pass that assessment. And then when all of that is verified, they will invite you to take the coach knowledge assessment. Earning the PCC credential is much like saying, okay, now I have a master's degree. It's 125 hours of training, 500 hours of experience as a coach with clients, 10 hours mentor coaching, during which you're working on 2 recordings of yourself as a coach, the coach knowledge assessment. It is the same coach knowledge assessment, that exam, at all levels. So if you take it for the ACC credential, you don't have to repeat it. You've already done it. Some people go from membership to the ACC to the PCC. Other people go straight to the PCC. So it depends on whether you took it previously or not. Now for the MCC credential, you have to get your PCC first. So we're going to focus on your options for training, for an initial training, for earning membership, earning the ACC and the PCC credential. To give you how it works at the Center for Coaching Certification, the first step is called the Certified Professional Coach Program. It's 30 hours of training. What a lot of people like about that particular offering is sometimes you're looking at coach training, not because you're going to be a coach. You're looking at coach training because it is a competency expected of anyone in a leadership capacity, because you're in HR, talent development, or other fields that call for you to have the coaching skills. And that class is awesome in setting the foundation for that. For those of you that do want to become a coach, your next step is going to be the Certified Master Coach Program. And with those 2 classes, you qualify to join the ICF as a member. At that point, you're making a decision. Do you want to go toward the ACC credential or toward the PCC credential? There's pros and cons. The ACC credential is obtainable in a shorter period of time because of the requirements for it, and it gets you credentialed, and then you can continue on to the PCC. Going directly to the PCC saves repeating some of the work that you're doing, and I'll show you that specifically. So if you go the ACC route, your next step is getting 100 hours of coaching experience. That's working with different clients and doing your mentor coaching. Now, if you do the mentor coaching to earn the ACC credential, and then you continue on to the PCC credential, that's where you have a duplication, because doing the mentor coaching for the ACC means you then turn around and repeat it for the PCC. Everything else is going to build and accumulate. So that is the only thing that ends up getting repeated if you go to the ACC first. As mentioned, you're working on that recording of yourself. It will get assessed and has to pass, and then you qualify to take the exam. Successfully completing each of those things along the way is how you earn the ACC credential. Then, if you decide to continue on toward the PCC credential, or if you just decide to take the PCC route from the get-go, the next step on that route is working toward your 500 hours of experience as a coach. And yes, you're logging those hours. Then there's additional training that's required. We offer the Certified Coach Specialist program and the Coaching Experience class. From there, you move into the mentor coaching, work on those recordings of yourself as a coach. And if you didn't do the ACC first and you went straight to the PCC, then you take the exam, and that's how you complete the requirements for the PCC credential. So I'm hoping that clarified all those questions that came in ahead of time. If you have additional questions, please put them in so I can make sure I'm answering those. The coaching experience hours, it's literally working with clients. So some people are what we call an internal coach, and it's part of your job in your organization to coach other people. And that can be one way you get hours. Other people are putting themselves out there, letting your network know that you're available, whether it's people you know or people they know that are looking for a coach, promoting your services in different organizations or with different groups, depending on the type of coaching you want to do. It's literally being available as a coach. ICF requires that you have at least 8 clients, and they require 75 of the hours to be paid coaching hours where you're getting paid to do that coaching. So it truly is building that business. The follow-up question, if you're an HR professional, is it any hours working with employees? No, it's specifically coaching employees. And there is a difference between an HR conversation with somebody and a coaching conversation with somebody. So it literally, if you're coaching them, yes, you can count it. If it's an HR meeting, then no, you can't. So hopefully that clarifies that for you. Those are good questions. I'm so glad you're asking that. In the meantime, and feel free to keep adding questions. I'm just going to keep rolling with the additional information. I'll come back to those questions. So coaching is the second fastest growing profession, rivaled by information technology, which totally makes sense. Forbes magazine, I love this quote. Do you have a coach? If not, you could be limiting your career success. And let's back that up by the research. A study was done at Amico, which is now part of BP, over a 10-year period of time. I love the longevity of this study. And in the research, here's what they found. The people that had a coach had improved performance, increased ratings of potential for advancement, and catch this, 50% higher average salary increases. That's phenomenal. So yes, a coach makes a difference in people's success in their careers. It is considered a tool of choice for leaders and emerging leaders, according to Denison Consulting. When a company does hire a coach, what are the reasons they do it? According to Harvard Business Review, 48% of the time, it is to develop high potentials or facilitate transitions. People are moving in different leadership capacities, things are going on there. So, very common practice in many, many organizations. I sometimes say, boy, successful companies either have a coaching program or they're going to have one. It is making that much of a difference for people. 26% of the time, coaches are brought in to act as a sounding board. This is seen most commonly in the C-suite. Think about it this way. Executives at that level are not looking for action planning or that kind of thing. They are looking for a chance to think out loud, have somebody challenge that thinking and expand that thinking. And a coach is a phenomenal resource for that. Now, interestingly enough, sometimes people still think, oh, well, I thought you got a coach when you got in trouble. Let's be realistic. Coaching is expensive. And so when a company hires a coach, they're investing in that individual. As a matter of fact, a lot of people negotiate for coaching as part of their package when they go into the workplace. At the same time, 12% of the time, coaches are brought in to address the derailing behavior. So what does that mean? That means the company says, we want this individual to be here and to be successful here. And we're going to invest in a coach to support them doing that because something's getting in the way. And so they bring in a coach to support that person's success in that workplace. Now, an interesting insight came out of this particular study. What they found is that 76% of the time, personal issues get addressed. And occasionally people are surprised, and those of us that have been coaching have come to learn it absolutely makes sense, because whatever someone has going on in their personal world, it's part of who they are when they're in the workplace, and it's impacting them. So when they have the opportunity to address it in that coaching conversation, it means when they're at work, they're able to focus completely and increase their own productivity. If an individual is hiring a coach, what are their reasons? They want to optimize their performance and increase their productivity, back to seeing how it makes a difference in their career, improve their communication skills, expand on their own career opportunities. Increased self-esteem is a big one. We tend to overlook that one, and it's such a big factor because somebody's confidence plays into their success. Improve work-life balance. People are dealing with so much, so supporting that part of it. And then business management strategies. So a question came in, is this only for business coaching? Absolutely not. When we're talking coaching, we are talking life coaching, we're talking wellness coaching, we're talking career coaching, business coaching, executive coaching, it's all of the above. And I sometimes get asked, okay, so if I want to do life coaching, are you going to teach me this part of the life stuff? Or if I want to do executive coaching, are you going to teach me the executive world? And here's what our response is: we're here to teach you coaching. And the coaching that you do is the same whether you are coaching a 13-year-old child or an executive in the C-suite. I have coached in both spaces and it's the same. The competencies, the process, everything. So our focus is completely on developing those coaching skills for you as a coach. Our thinking, the awareness behind that is that you've already got expertise that you bring to the table in those different areas, depending on where you want to coach. You don't need me to teach you what you already know and have experience in. What you're looking for is the coaching. So hopefully that was helpful on that question. And next one came in: on average, how long does it take to finish the training? So the programs are a progression. The first level training, the Certified Professional Coach program, is a 30-hour program, and it's commonly scheduled over a 3 to 6 week period of time. The Certified Master Coach program is 35 hours, and again, commonly scheduled over 6 weeks or so. And that pattern continues depending on how far you want to go. When we do a cohort, somebody that's going from straight to the ACC level credential, it's usually scheduled over 5 to 6 months. For people that have already completed 60 hours of training and want to go from that level on to the PCC, that is also typically scheduled over 5 to 6 months. And then when we do a PCC cohort, people going straight to the PCC, what we do is schedule that over a 10 to 12 month period of time. So it does vary depending on how far you want to go with your coach training. So that was a great question. In terms of the models that we use and teach, somebody's asking that. We're going to dig into that. And I'm hoping you're willing to wait for me to get there because we do have that information available to you. The short answer I can give you in the meantime, by the way, is we are 100,000% focused on developing the specific competencies of a coach. The International Coaching Federation has 8 core competencies for a coach, and that's what we're built on, is developing those competencies. So hopefully that's helpful, and we'll see more coming up. Another insight to share with you: Fortune magazine talking about coaching, saying it's attracting the top CEOs because it works. And here's the bottom line to that. They looked at multiple studies when I read this article, from what I can tell, and the average return across different studies for coaching is 600%. That's phenomenal. I don't know of any investment you can make anywhere that's going to have that kind of a return on investment. So it's fabulous. Digging into it more specifically, one of the studies I'm guessing they looked at, very commonly cited, was done by Metrics Global. They found that coaching produced a 529% ROI. And when they added the financial benefits from employee retention, it jumps that number to 788%. Phenomenal. Super, super exciting. Now, Manchester Inc. has a similar study. If you look at it, well, actually just go online and do a search on the return on investment for coaching. You're going to see a number of different studies out there, and it's super exciting. Now, back to the earlier question, is this only business coaching versus life coaching or wellness coaching? Here's what I'll say. Most of the research is funded by large corporations. They have the money to pay for that research. ICF does get involved in research, and that's where you'll see research that also draws in the individual life and wellness type coaching. Okay, back to the research. A go-to in many organizations is training. And here's what they found. Training increases productivity 22.4%. When you add coaching to that training, you get a 4 times the impact in terms of productivity, 88% productivity gain. That study was done by Public Personnel Management. I think it's backed up further by a study at Xerox, where they said if you don't do coaching after the training, 87% of the skills change you got is lost. So that coaching is making a difference. If you have any training going on, it makes sense to incorporate coaching as part of the plan. It just pays back. When somebody chooses a coach, how do they decide who they want as a coach? First off, they want to know you have experience in a similar setting. That speaks to what I said earlier. You're coming already with a wealth of experience and expertise and passion in a particular area. What you're gaining in your coach training is a clear methodology for doing the coaching, which is the next thing people want. Now we're going to dive into, okay, what does that coaching relationship look like? And we're going to share with you a metaphor or analogy, if you will, called the staircase to success. So imagine you're going to build a staircase, and we're going to compare that to building a coaching relationship. So if you're going to build the staircase, the first thing you do is work on getting that framework in place. In a coaching relationship, what does that framework consist of? Well, yes, of course, you're training, just as with any profession. It's about learning the process. And of course, during that training, developing the competency as a skill and embodying the ethics specific to that profession. So, for example, every profession out there, you've got ethics. And there are some nuances because of what coaching is that are incredibly important to understand and work with. Now, when you have the framework in place, you get to start adding steps. In coaching, the first step is an agreement. We talk about the agreement happening in 3 phases. The first phase of the agreement is an initial conversation with somebody. What is coaching? What isn't coaching? How does this work? And from there, we move into the second phase, which is a formal agreement. Now, in some countries, a written agreement is considered an insult. So in a case like that, it's a formal verbal agreement. In other countries, it's a best practice to have a written agreement. And so it is a written agreement. Then the third phase of agreement happens every single coaching session. That is where the client is saying what they want to focus on, how they will know that session specifically was successful, exploring what they want to address, how they want to have that conversation, and what it means to them. With that happening, we're setting up understanding. Now, understanding is happening on many different levels. It is incumbent on the coach to understand the client. Who are they? How do they think? How do they process? How do they function? What's their culture? What's their context? What's their experience? Really understanding that, because it plays in to the way they think and plan. And then together, the coach and the client are partnering for that common understanding on what the client wants, their potential barriers, opportunities, resources, etc. And that understanding supports the step of rapport. Rapport is the number one indicator of success in a coaching relationship. It means that as a coach, we've created that safe place. The clients know they can trust us, which means we can really have the deep conversation that supports them creating the meaningful change they want. That rapport is further developed with how we communicate. The way we listen as a coach is different. We listen deeply, we listen for that understanding, we listen cumulatively over time. We listen for the client's context in what they're saying. Then the way we say what we say matters. So as a coach, learning how to phrase it in a way that is clear, direct, and respectful. And another big part of communication is the questions. Coaching questions are completely different than any other type of question, and they're absolutely powerful. Those questions, in turn, support the step of exploration, where the client is exploring what they want, the reasons they want it, the opportunities, the barriers, the ways to move forward on it. And through that process, they're developing their strategy, how they are going to move forward to the doorway called success. And success is defined by the client. This is how we build the relationship. Now let's talk about the process itself. How does it actually work? What does that look like? It is a very common best practice to have what we call an introductory session. This is before we have a formal agreement to decide, hey, is this a good match? In that introductory session, the coach and the client are getting to know each other. It may include some coaching so that the client experiences what it's like and how it works. Ultimately, the objective of that is to determine, hey, is this a good match? Is this the right thing for the client? And when you determine, yes, it is, this is going to serve that client well, we move forward into what we call our opening session, your first session after you do the agreement. During that opening session, we do a big picture exploration. What does the client want in all different areas? And the value of doing that big picture exploration, it becomes so clear when you do it. Number one, for a client, they really are more aware. Okay, I was saying this was my priority. Now, as I'm talking it through, I'm discovering something over there is my priority. Or, oh, goodness, I have competing goals or influencing factors to some of these things that I want to achieve. So it's an incredible process. It also supports the coach really getting to know the client and understanding them and what's important to them. From that opening session, we move into a session that's all about setting up the client to be focused and engaged on achieving what they want. Think about it this way. It is so common for people to have a New Year's resolution and 2 weeks later not even remember what it was. We've all heard that story. So, if a client is coming to a coach to create meaningful change, and we know how easy it is for goals to get lost in the shuffle, forgotten, pushed aside, whatever else, what are we doing to set the client up for success so that they are focused and fully engaged in the process? And that's what the next session is about. You'll love the process when you learn it. On an ongoing basis in a coaching relationship, the client is going to prioritize what they want to accomplish. They're going to strategize. What do they want to talk through? What do they want to figure out? How do they want to move forward? They're developing their own action plan and taking time to recognize progress and success. And the coach is there as the partner for this all the way through. The average coaching relationship is going to last 12 months, according to the ICF. It is a common best practice in the coaching world to require a commitment to 6 sessions initially. And the reason for that is it's a process. It takes time. Creating change takes time. And so it takes several sessions to really get that going and for the client to start experiencing that forward movement on a steady, consistent basis. Sometimes after those 6 sessions, the clients close out the relationship because that's what the time and the budget allowed. And sometimes they say, hey, this is making that difference, and I'm going to continue investing in myself with the coaching. And they continue. Whatever happens as a coach, it's our responsibility to continue coaching only if it's serving the client, if it's supporting them. And whether they're complete with particular goals, with what time and money allowed, or with what they can accomplish through the coaching, before closing out the relationship, the coach is working with the client to set themselves up for their own long term. How are they maintaining the progress and success they experience during coaching for the long term as they move forward after coaching. And then we have a closing session. And very commonly in that closing session, we're exploring the ROI for the coaching relationship. What did the client gain from it? And while we call it a closing session, as a coach, we're telling the client the door's open, because when coaching serves them again, they're welcome to come back. And clients do come back, sometimes months later, sometimes years later. According to the International Coaching Federation, when people do have a coach that they work with, 83% of the time, they're saying, yeah, it's important for the coach to have certification or a credential. And that number continues growing as people become more and more aware. So, of course, there are people out there offering coaching services and they haven't done training. My question to all of you is this: if you were going to hire a financial planner, how willing are you to hire somebody who has no training, or an attorney, or a mental health professional, or whatever it is? So yes, of course, the training makes sense. It's how we develop the certification. At the same time, as with anything, there are pros and there are cons. Of course, I want to say it's all pros, and I know realistically, yes, there are cons. The cons are consistent across what it takes to be a professional in any field. It takes time and it takes money. That's the bottom line. And those are the factors for probably most of you as you think about coach training. Okay, this is going to take me time and money to get there. That is true of moving forward professionally wherever we go. On the pro side of it, it is a fabulous opportunity in terms of career advancement. If you are in a leadership capacity, you're probably aware that coaching is considered a competency you've got to have and develop. And so it makes sense because it sets you up for success as a leader. If you are in human resources or talent development or organizational development, you're going to see increasingly it's called for. Let's see. Question came in. If someone is looking to hire a certified coach, does ICF provide a website or directory where they can find certified resources in their area? And the answer is absolutely yes. We do as well. And we have a website for that our graduates can list in. ICF has a site. Most commonly, what's happening is when companies hire a coach, they're verifying whether that coach is a member of ICF and or holds a certain credential, and the ICF directory will give you that information. In terms of in their area, I love that you put that in there. And here's the reason. Coaching most of the time is done on the phone or online. And that was true before COVID. 80% of coaching being done on the phone or on the internet was the case before that became almost necessary, if you will. The advantage to that, it means you can really find the right coach. You are not limited by geography. So as an example for you, I have clients literally all over the world. And it works great because they get to find the coach that is right for them. So hopefully that opens up a whole nother possibility. It's looking for a coach based on what the coach offers. Another advantage to the certification is, of course, business development. Whether you're looking at this as an add-on service to what you're doing, to add the skill set to what you offer, or because you're going to start a part-time or a full-time business. When people choose certification, how do they decide which program to take? There are so many. You have literally hundreds and hundreds of choices. And I know that's so hard. I remember the challenge myself when I got started years ago. So here's what I can share with you that people tell us when they choose certification. The first thing they're looking for is credibility. And I'll give you a few things you can pay attention to determine if the credibility is there. The next thing that's important is whether or not you're going to walk away with coaching tools. It is so incredibly valuable to, after you graduate, have access to even more than what you gain through the training program. And we are so excited about everything we can offer in that way. The ongoing support is a big factor. We do ongoing free continuing education. ongoing access, just constantly putting out information and supporting you as you continue on that journey. Professional development. What that boils down to is many of you have professional designations that require continuing education. And the really great news is the certification we give you, and this is unique, actually carries CCEs or CEUs, depending on which terminology you use. Specifically, we're accredited as a continuing education provider. And most professional organizations, many colleges and universities accept the credit hours that we're giving you. If you happen to be part of the Society for Human Resource Management, the Human Resource Certification Institute, they automatically accept the credits we give you because of that accreditation. So, really good news in that regard. It is also significant in terms of your own personal development. The growth process of going through coach training is phenomenal. And another incredible tool that we provide is an assessment dashboard. Those of you in the workplace are probably familiar with many of the assessments on the dashboard. Here's what the good news is. You get that assessment at wholesale. So for some of you who are making the case to have your company pay for the coach training, it's going to pay them back just in the savings on those assessments. So that's available to you when you graduate. That's provided to all the graduates. In terms of what the training looks like, we're going to get into the time money aspect of it because those are the big considerations. We get that. There are programs out there that are a few hours. I'm going to give you a big hint. If the program is less than 30 hours, the ICF is not going to approve it as coach training. They may approve it as continuing education for coaches, which is very different than the coach training that's required. The continuing education comes after you do the coach training. So an awareness for you there. Look for a program that's 30 hours or more and ICF approved. There are also programs that you're going to spend 10 years. It is this huge journey and it digs into a lot of the philosophy and the theory and that kind of thing. For some, that's what you want. For others, I really want to get the application piece of it. At the Center for Coaching Certification, our certified professional coach program is 30 hours. The certified master coach is 35. The coach specialist program is 35, and the coaching experience class is 30 hours. So supporting you 100% of the way, all the way through to that PCC credential. In terms of location, there are programs that are online. There are programs you travel to. Of course, because of COVID, many of the programs that were only live on location have learned to convert to being online. Since we started over 10 years ago, we have offered the program completely online. We've also done it in major cities and for public classes and for private groups. So it's available in any of those formats. In terms of cost, if you're seeing a program that's really short, a limited number of hours, you're going to see something for $400. Actually, there was one place that if you sent them $25, they sent you a certificate. No training involved at all. That was pretty interesting. And when I say 20,000, that's on the light side. That's typically a program at a university, and it can be more than that. At the Center for Coaching Certification, we are very much interested in making the training accessible to people. So the Certified Professional Coach program is at $16.95. The Master Coach and Coach Specialist programs are $19.95, and the Coaching Experience is $18.95. The biggest thing I hear from people that graduate is that we're not charging enough, and we're totally fine with that. It increases access to the training, and we're interested in that. In terms of going for credentials specifically, we have an ACC cohort, which includes the professional coach, the master coach, and the mentor coaching as a package. We do have one of those cohorts starting in a few weeks. We also have the ACC to PCC. So if somebody happens to already have 60 hours of training and you want to move on to the PCC credential, that option is available to you. And that's going to be starting not long after the ACC cohort. So it's available to you. And for those of you that want to do start to finish all the way to the PCC, we also have a PCC cohort available to you. So lots of options. You can do it a la carte with the individual programs, or you can do an all-in-one package with one of the cohorts. In terms of noticing credibility, I mentioned I was going to come back to this. Here's what you want to be looking at. First off, the single most important thing to look for in any coach training program you go to, wherever you go, is that it has been approved by the International Coaching Federation. So this logo right here, look for that. You're going to know that it was approved when you see that. Above and beyond that, I mentioned that we're accredited to provide continuing education. That's through ICF. That stands for International Accreditors for Continuing Education and Training. And those credits are accepted by many, many different organizations. We have had financial planners, nurses, mental health professionals, attorneys, et cetera, use the training hours for their other professional designations. For those of you in the world of image consultants, the Certified Professional Coach Program is approved by AICI as continuing education. Now, one additional piece you can notice on a website for an organization in terms of credibility is, are they a member of ACTO? ACTO stands for the Association of Coach Training Organizations. It is to coach training organizations or schools what ICF is to individual coaches. So ACTO also has ethics and its ongoing development for the individuals as trainers, teaching coaches. So the combination of these is a great indicator for you in terms of the credibility of an organization. As a value add, find out who attends classes there. One thing I can share with you is that the students we see come from wonderful backgrounds. And we see people, ATD, the Association for Talent Development, Sherman, HRCI, our HR professionals, FPAs, financial planners, and SBAs, the National Small Business Administration, from AICI, and yes, from ICF, because people are continuing their coach training. From ISED, people understand the value of that accreditation. We see mental health professionals, consultants, project managers, so many different capacities, leaders of all kinds, and most significantly, people that truly have a passion for empowering others. And what's important about this is it means the conversations during class are rich and it adds value. Wherever you go in terms of the training program, and again, coming back to that question earlier of the content and what's covered, ICF has 8 core competencies. Make sure that your training program is designed to develop these competencies. They're organized into 4 different areas. The first is called the foundation. The foundation demonstrates ethical practice. What does that mean to you? Find a program that includes class on ethics so that you learn coaching ethics, which are different, and embodies a coaching mindset. That means as a coach, truly being curious, open, and flexible. It means being committed to our own professional growth as a coach and having our own reflective practice to learn and be aware of what we're doing and how it's working. Co-creating the relationship involves 3 competencies. We talked about agreement happening in 3 phases. It's incredibly important that you have the opportunity to experience that in your class. That means having an initial conversation about what coaching is and is not, having examples of coaching agreements, and then during the coaching sessions that you practice during class, being able to practice getting the agreement for the session. It also includes cultivates trust and safety. This is where you're developing rapport with the client. It means you truly understand them and you adjust the process to the client accordingly. And you maintain your presence as a coach, staying completely there and in the moment with the client, focused on them. Then we have communicating effectively. It includes listens actively. Now, what's interesting about listening is this. If you think, okay, am I a good listener? Most of us say, yeah, I'm a pretty good listener. And then if you ask other people, do you think others listen well? Most people will say no. There's definitely a gap or a disconnect there. So listening on a whole new level, and consistently the feedback people are sharing in class is, hey, this was a real eye opener in terms of really developing that listening. And then evokes awareness, speaks to the powerful questions that we ask as a coach, and really learning how to ask those questions. Cultivating learning and growth involves facilitating client growth. And that happens in so many ways. It's noticing what's going on for them. It's asking them about it. It's asking them to reflect on what they're learning and how they're using their new insights, supporting them as they strategize. These competencies are foundational to the training we do. And when you look for a training program, make sure you're learning these competencies. Who's going to benefit from certification? It's easy for me to say everyone. And the irony of it is, really, everyone does benefit from it. I talk about being a better grandmother because of learning coaching skills. It's a phenomenal tool set, regardless of what walk of life you're in. How does it impact you on the job? Let's go back to the whole concept of coaching being a competency for leaders. There's a reason. Gallup poll, 86% of employees think their bosses are uninspiring. And you've probably seen the statistics. When people leave an organization, they're not leaving the company, they're leaving their boss. It makes the difference in terms of retaining really good talent in an organization, because people will stay with a really good boss. And when that boss learns coaching skills, they're going to keep people. Addition to that, Harvard Business Review said it. Coaching is becoming integral to the fabric of a learning culture and a skill that managers at all levels need to develop and deploy. It's making a difference in how effective people are in the workplace. Think about the skill development you gain from coach training, specifically the communication, working on the listening, the clear, direct, respectful, assertive language, and the questioning, powerful coaching questions. That's a skill set that's useful wherever you go, at home, at work, everywhere. People skills, recognizing different personal styles and knowing how to flex to people based on who they are. And then goal setting, having a process that works, because the way we set goals makes a difference in how successful we are in achieving those goals. And again, that's a skill we use everywhere. As far as it being a business opportunity, some of you wanted to really dig into this piece. The hourly costs for coaching, and I'm giving you US dollars. I do realize people are in different parts of the world. In many parts of the world, this translates across. In some areas, obviously, you're adjusting simply because the numbers are different. So based on US dollars, the hourly cost for coaching ranges from 100 to 3,500. The median is 500. So let's really break that down. If you're doing life or career coaching, 100 to 200 an hour is fairly common. If you're doing business coaching, 200 to 400 an hour is common. And if you're doing executive coaching, 400 to 600 is more common. So it does vary depending on the type of coaching you do. Currently, 2.356 billion US dollars are being spent worldwide. As of November of this past year, ICF had 38,249 member coaches. And here are the numbers in terms of which level of credential they had. 18,000, almost 19,000 at the ACC level, 13,000 at the PCC level. So that gives you a sense of what's there, and that, yeah, most people earn membership and move toward a credential and then continue on the journey to the next level of credentialing. As a business, absolutely, it's an opportunity for an add-on service, or if you want to do it part-time or full-time. The model that is overarching for how we approach this training. We start with the word competence. And what does competence mean? It means we know that you already come with strengths and skills, and that our job is to build on the strengths and skills you bring with the specific coaching competencies, create that synergy with what you have and what the coaching competencies are. That sets you up for success as a coach. Another big piece is confidence. Here's what we know. For a coaching relationship to be successful, both the coach and the client have got to be confident in the coach as the coach, in the coaching process, and in the client and their ability to successfully move forward. So we're providing you with the tools that support that so that you truly are empowered and your client is empowered, and you really have the awareness of that. And then choice. Coaching is all about client choice. We're there as a partner while the client is discovering, strategizing. We're supporting them every step of the way. And learning how to do that effectively is essential. So, what are the specific programs? The Certified Professional Coach program starts with a series of live online classes. Probably the big difference when you do a class is you're on camera and off mic. So everybody's talking and interacting and engaging, and it's fabulous. The first class we do is called About Coaching. We're talking about what a coach is and is not, much like that initial conversation you have with someone. And then we move into looking at the competencies. What are they? What does this mean to us as coaches? We do a class on ethics, and I'll say I geek out on this one. It's fun. We have a really good time in that class. We do a solid job of walking you through the code of ethics while at the same time making it fun. We talk stories and examples. It's a great discussion. We have a good time with that. For the class called Understanding Your Client, I invite everybody to bring your sense of humor. We're going to talk about people and recognizing different personal styles. And what does that mean? And how do we be aware of that and adjust? Because we're all bringing different pieces to the table. We've got to know, how am I showing up as the coach? How's my client showing up? How do we adjust and make this work for the client? The class on communication covers the listening skills, the clear, direct language, and the questions, and gives you the information on how to formulate those coaching questions. And then focus and motivation. In focus and motivation, we talk about how an awareness of a client's learning style becomes a tool for developing rapport, for how we ask questions, and for supporting the client being fully empowered. We also discuss language patterns called meta models and thought patterns called meta programs, because those play into how people are describing things, what they want, how they're setting their goals. With each of these classes, you will have a homework assignment. So the classes are 90 minutes, and your homework assignment on average is going to be 90 minutes. We'll give you specific questions to answer, and you email it to your trainer. Then we do a group session, and the group session is a fabulous opportunity to deepen some of the discussions, to take it in new directions, to get questions asked and answered that haven't been covered. And of course, we're also going to give you information on all the resources we provide. Sometimes people tell us it's a little overwhelming. There's so many great resources there that we're going to give you. So we'll do an overview of them for you. And we move from there into the coaching practicum. The coaching practicum involves you being partnered with other people in class so that you will have the opportunity to be the coach, to be the client, and to observe coaching. And we do that through a series of coaching sessions. So you're truly learning the process, practicing it, plus experiencing it as a client, which is so essential if we're going to be effective as coaches. Then at the end of the practicum, we have a case study. We walk through it with you. It serves as your final. After certification, there is a free monthly Q&A call available to all graduates. You can come as often as you want. We also provide you recordings, one on the business of coaching, one on marketing yourself as a coach for those of you who are going to do this as a business. And we also provide recordings of coaching sessions. And then I mentioned earlier, we have the free continuing education available to you, and that supports you in maintaining your certification and your login access, where you have all those great resources. For the Certified Master Coach program, we also start with live online classes. The first one there is called group and team coaching. And the reason we start with that is because the program is going to include doing that, which is a fabulous experience. It's such an incredible value add for you as a coach and for your clients. Then we do a deeper dive into the areas of the competency. So ethics and agreement, coaching process, people and communication, creating change with confidence. We talk about each competency, what not to do, what to do, how that really works, and deepen that discussion. We have a lot of people share with us that it really helped things click into place when they got to this level. We also do a session on time and money coaching. And this session is significant for us in this way. Just as time and money are considerations for you in deciding whether or not to do coach training, time and money are considerations for your client in many of the decisions they're making. They are a solid example of influencing factors or competing priorities for people. And there are others, and we bring that conversation in as well. We do a final debrief of all the coaching that happens during the program. For the classes themselves, there are pre-work and report assignments. Again, we're giving you questions to respond. So for every 90 minutes of class, there's about 90 minutes of homework. The coaching practicum is moving you to the next level. You're going to be doing the group coaching. So the group sessions are scheduled. They're part of the program schedule. One of those group sessions, you'll be a coach or a co-coach with somebody else in class. And for the others, you'll be part of the group and experience different processes and approaches to the group coaching. For the individual coaching, you'll actually be interviewing classmates and you'll be involved in selecting who you want as your coach. And when you do the sessions, it's you, your coach, and the trainer, or you, your client, and the trainer. So you get great individual attention and support in your work as a coach. And then a final report about a coaching engagement serves as the final. The Certified Coach Specialist program is taking you to the next level. We're talking coach competencies, which you've been developing all along, and then strength areas, including subject matter expertise areas, depending on the type of coaching you want to do. We take a deep, deep dive into the areas of the competencies and specifically look at what behaviors are you exhibiting as a coach that demonstrates those competencies? What are the things you say or do that demonstrates those competencies so that you're really experiencing that doing it? And then we do a session on challenges and trends that we face as coaches. There is a coaching debrief. In this class, you have reading assignments before class and homework assignments after. The coaching practicum is again going to involve the group coaching and the individual coaching where you're interviewing each other and scheduling those sessions, and it has the final report. From there, the coaching experience class is all about practice, practice, practice. This is what everyone wanted, and this is what it is. So we'll do a review of the core competencies and evaluating coaches. Then we're going to move into setting up the group and team coaching that's going to happen. We'll have 6 group sessions. You'll have 5 individual sessions as a coach, 5 as a client, and 5 observing. And then we do a debrief of that. So it's all about the practice. The mentor coaching that we offer supports you at the ACC, PCC, and MCC levels. We include 3 individual sessions. We have a 360 we developed of your coaching competencies. We also talk about your recording and what you're doing in setting that up. And we review recordings with you and discuss application of the competencies vis-a-vis what are called the PCC markers, the behaviors that demonstrate those competencies. We have 5 90-minute group sessions where we're discussing the competencies as a group and then doing laser focused mini sessions. The resources that we include for you when you are in a program, all of the class materials are included. Coach login after you graduate with lots of resources there. The assessment dashboards that I mentioned. And we are working so hard on additional opportunities. We have a blog, and you're welcome to guest blog, get in front of our audience. We do free webinars, and you can do one of those and get in front of our audience. We publish a book once a year with chapters written by graduates, so you have the opportunity to be a published author. We have the online searchable directory of coaches called findacertifiedcoach.com. We also have a business development team that is out actively seeking contracts for coaching services and then placing our graduates in those contracts. So we are working super hard to make sure we're providing support after you complete your training. So there's lots there. Okay, I know we've used our time. Next steps. I mentioned I had something for you at the end. Here you go. You've invested your time exploring this. I'm giving back. If you want a 30-minute conversation, when I send you an email after this session with a link to the recording on YouTube, you can respond to that email and tell me you want a link to my calendar, and I'll get it to you, and you can choose a time for a 30-minute conversation. Some people have specific questions they want to ask in addition to what we covered here. Some people really want experience coaching, so that's up to you. Then there is an application that you complete on the website. It is different for the professional coach versus one of the cohorts. So you want to make sure you're filling out the right application. And then when you know which class you want, the schedule's available on the website. The way to hold your spot in that class is paying that registration. Thank you, each and every one of you, for being here, for your time, for your interest. And kudos to you. If you're going to start on this coaching journey, you are so smart to be doing your homework ahead of time. So way to go you for that. I'm happy to hang around if you have additional questions. In the meantime, I know a lot of you probably had other things scheduled. So we are complete in terms of the content I have. Thank you so much for being here. And yeah, I'll hang out and see if there's more questions. In the meantime, thanks for the thanks. I'm glad to see those notes to me. I'm glad this was helpful to you. It's really good to know that it's getting your questions answered. And based on what I am seeing, I think we are complete because I'm seeing the thanks. Oh, and when does the 2022 schedule come out? That's a good question. As a matter of fact, I just emailed all the trainers this morning asking them for their 2022 schedule. The 2022 schedule for the cohorts is up on the website. So if you're thinking the ACC or the PCC cohort, those schedules are there, and the more are coming soon. Let's see, somebody else is saying one question. Go ahead, give me that question. I'm happy to hang out. Thank you for that. And thank you, everyone. Very glad this was helpful to you. Appreciate those comments. The total cost for the PCC program, yes, it was on one of those slides. It's on the website. I have to close out my slides. So if you hang on for a minute, I can close out my slides and go pull it up. Somebody said, do you recommend coaching insurance? It's a fabulous question. We actually talk about it in that business of coaching recording that we give you. And here's the simple thing. First off, it's what's your risk comfort level? In terms of coaching, it's very important to know that as coaches, we do not give advice, give answers, or that kind of thing. And so some people feel like, okay, I put that right in my agreement, so they feel safe with that. Alternatively, other people say, okay, insurance is just you're in business, it makes sense, that kind of thing. So we talk about the pros and cons to the insurance. In terms of cost in the United States, you'll find the professional insurance for coaches ranges from 500 a year up. So it's reasonable in terms of that cost, and hopefully that helps you as you figure out what makes the most sense for you. So good question there. And based on the other question, somebody wanted the price for the PCC cohort. So let me go back up to what those price points were. The PCC cohort is 8,500. So what happens is with the cohorts, there is a cost savings because you're combining multiple classes and the mentor coaching together. So it does save you. Um, so hopefully that answered that question on the PCC program. I think we're good on the insurance question. It seems like we've covered it. Are we good, everyone? Just checking in with you. Okay. Sounds like we are. Thank you so much for being here. Do let us know what else we can do to be helpful and support you on the journey. In terms of the PowerPoint slides, we don't send those out. What I can do is I'm going to email everybody that registered a link to the recording on YouTube, so you can access that recording on YouTube and get the information again. So awesome. Thank you, everyone. Appreciate you being here. Take care and have a fabulous rest of your day or evening.